Let me preface this by saying that I was the guy who never doubted. Ever. I trusted my wife, Emma, with everything. We'd been married 12 years, and I never thought I'd be the type of man to scroll through phone logs or check mileage on a car. But here I am. Last Friday, I found a burner phone in the trunk of Emma's car, under the spare tire. It was hidden inside a plastic bag, wrapped with an old t-shirt that used to belong to me. The phone was basic, no password, just numbers and texts. What I found in there changed everything. Let me rewind a bit. Emma and I live in Ohio. Middle-class life. No kids, by choice. She's a pediatric nurse, does night shifts twice a week. Always tired, but she loved her job, or so she told me. I work in tech, mostly remote, with a few business trips here and there. Over the last 6 months, I started noticing things. Small, unassuming shifts. The way she suddenly angled her phone away when texting. Her odd behavior after gym workouts, long showers, extra perfume, sometimes coming home an hour later than she said. But any time I brought something up, she'd flip it. You're paranoid. You're controlling. You're making something out of nothing. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. But 2 weeks ago, she borrowed my car for the day. When I got hers back, something felt off. I couldn't shake it. So, against everything I believed in, I searched her trunk. That's when I found the burner. And inside it, there were 8 different male contacts. I've been unraveling this story ever since. Every contact. Every message. Every hidden rendezvous. Every lie. And I'm writing this here because I need to get it all out. Not for pity. For clarity. For survival. This was never just one affair. It was a double life. And I have 14 more parts to tell you exactly how deep it goes. When I found the burner phone, I expected maybe one guy. A stupid fling. A mistake. Something we could, maybe, work through. But what I saw. 8 men. All saved under fake names like Lawn Guy, Car Wash, Angela's husband, Gym Trainer number 2. Not a single real name. Not even initials. Like they were disposable. Like they weren't even people, just placeholders for whatever she needed that day. I started reading. The first thread I opened was from Lawn Guy. The texts were raw. Explicit. Time-stamped just 2 nights ago. She had told me she was on call at the hospital that night. But according to this thread, she was at a Motel 6 off the highway. 10:43 p.m. That thing you did with your mouth. I can't stop thinking about it. Next Tuesday. Same place. Bring those heels. I felt like I was going to throw up. And then it hit me, Tuesday. That Tuesday, I'd come home from a work trip early. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. But she rushed through the front door 10 minutes after I did, breathless, hair wet. Just got off, she said. Busy night. Jesus Christ. I went through the rest of the contacts slowly. One guy was a married coworker. Another was her gym trainer. One was apparently the father of a child at the hospital she worked at. How the hell does that even happen? The worst part. Each man thought he was special. One text from Car Wash. I can't believe you spent Thanksgiving with him. I thought you were telling him you wanted out. And from Angela's husband. I miss the way you talk to me like I'm the only man in the world. They didn't know about each other. None of them did. Which means this wasn't an affair. This was a full-scale operation. A juggling act. A secret life built on lies, sex, and manipulation. But why? That's what I couldn't stop asking myself. We weren't perfect, sure, but we were good. We laughed. We cooked together. We had inside jokes. We made plans. Now, I don't even know who the hell I was married to. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. I needed more. I needed to know how long, how deep, and who else knew. So I started investigating. Quietly. Carefully. And what I found next, it made the phone look like child's play. After finding the burner phone, I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I kept replaying every moment over the last year in my head. Her laugh at dinner. The late night, emergency shifts. The sudden lingerie I thought was for me. It wasn't. I took pictures of every message, every number, and backed up the phone. I knew she'd destroy it if she ever found out. But I wasn't ready to confront her yet. I needed undeniable proof. Not just for me. For the part of me that still, stupidly, hoped I was wrong. So I started digging. One of the messages had a room number and a hotel name, Redwood Inn, room 208. That was from 2 weeks ago. She'd told me she was volunteering overnight for a pediatric charity event at the hospital. Brought home a t-shirt and everything. I drove to the Redwood Inn. It's the kind of place that has peeling paint on the outside and weekly rates for cash. I walked into the lobby, feeling like a man stepping into someone else's nightmare. I told the woman behind the counter that I thought I left something in a room. My wife and I were here last week, I lied. Room 208, I think. But I forgot something important. She raised an eyebrow but didn't stop me. Instead, she opened a worn-out ledger. Name. I said Emma's full name. My hands were sweating. She flipped through the pages and paused. Room 208. Emma, last name. Checked in, 8:21 p.m. Checked out, 3:06 a.m. I asked if she was alone. The woman gave me a long look. We don't usually talk about guests. I nodded. Slipped her a $20. She sighed. She wasn't alone. That was all I needed. But I asked anyway. Was it the same guy every time? She blinked. Every time? No, sir. Your wife, she's here often. Always a different guy. Sometimes 2 in 1 week. I didn't even remember how I got back in my car. I sat in the parking lot for over an hour. I stared at the photo of us on my lock screen, her arms around me at my sister's wedding. She looked happy. Real. But maybe she was just a better actress than I ever realized. It wasn't just sex. It was repetition. She'd done this so many times, she had a routine. A method. An alibi for every night. And I had never seen through it. Never once. But I wasn't done. I still didn't know how far it went. So I started calling the numbers on the burner. And one of the men picked up. I didn't have a plan. I just sat in my car, heart racing, staring at the list of contacts on the burner phone. Part of me thought, don't do it. Just confront her. Burn it all down. But another part, darker, more patient, needed to know. So I picked a number. Lawn guy. The one who left the message about the things she did with her mouth. I tapped call. 3 rings. 4. Then, click. Hello. Male voice. Mid-30s, maybe. Casual. Unbothered. Hey, I said, voice tight. Is this Jeff? Silence. Who's this? I think we need to talk. About Emma. Another pause. Then. Who the hell is this? I'm her husband. Silence again. But this time, it stretched. I heard him exhale. Shit. I didn't yell. Didn't scream. Just waited. Look, man. I didn't know. She told me she was separated. I swear. How long? 6 months. Maybe a little more. We meet every couple weeks. Sometimes more. She always said it was complicated. I thought I was helping her. Helping her. I almost laughed. Did she ever mention me? Just that, you were controlling. That you cheated first. Said you guilt-tripped her. That you were basically roommates. That hit hard. Because none of it was true. I was loyal. Maybe boring. Maybe a little too routine. But I never cheated. Never lied. Do you know how many others there are? He was quiet again. No. But. I always had a feeling. She's hard to pin down. One time she left me in the hotel room mid-conversation. Said she had to go. No explanation. I asked him to send me any screenshots or messages. Proof. He agreed. I'm sorry, man. Honestly. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. 38 screenshots. Messages. Photos. A couple of voice notes. In one of them, she laughed and said, "You're lucky. You actually get to see me. He hasn't touched me in months." It's hilarious. I had. 2 weeks ago. But in that moment, something inside me cracked. I wasn't even sad. I was hollow. Like someone had scooped out the center of my chest and left a cavern where my heart used to be. And still, somehow, this wasn't the worst of it. Because the next number I dialed was saved as Emergency Shift, Dave. And that man. He wasn't a stranger. I stared at the name. Emergency Shift, Dave. That number had come up in texts over and over. Always around 10 p.m. to midnight. Messages like, "You around tonight? Need a break? Same spot. Can't stay long. Just need a taste." It was routine. Coordinated. Polished, even. So when I hit call, I had no idea what I expected, but I didn't expect the voice that answered. Yo. It was familiar. Too familiar. Dave? Yeah, who's this? My voice cracked. This is Tyler. Emma's husband. Silence. Then. Oh, shit. Now, let me explain why this moment will haunt me forever. Dave wasn't just some random guy. He was someone I'd known for years. He was our friend. We met at a neighborhood barbecue 4 years ago. Emma liked his wife, and we'd occasionally do game nights, grab drinks, even went to a cabin weekend together once. He was funny. Smart. Always had some sarcastic comment about marriage, like he was too clever for monogamy. But I chalked it up to him being jaded. His marriage seemed shaky. But now I knew why. You knew she was married, I said. Yeah. I did. No excuses. No bullshit story like Jeff gave me. No claim of separation. He knew me. He'd eaten at our table. How long? Since last September. Started after that party at the Suttons. We got drunk. Things happened. You kept sleeping with her after that? Yeah. There was no guilt in his voice. Just exhaustion. Like he was sick of hiding. Why? Because she wanted to. Because I wanted to. Because neither of us gave a damn anymore. I figured you'd catch on eventually. He figured. This man smiled at me. Hugged me when we ran into each other at Costco. He shook my hand last Christmas. And all that time, he was sleeping with my wife. I hung up without saying another word. I didn't throw my phone. Didn't scream. I sat there, numb. Just, numb. My life was unraveling, piece by piece. And it felt like everyone else already knew, except me. But the sickest part? That wasn't even the final betrayal. Because that night, I decided to track her location. I installed a small GPS tile under her car seat a few days prior, part of my growing paranoia, I guess. And at 10:15 p.m., while I sat in the dark staring at my phone, the tracker started moving. Heading toward a familiar street. Our street. She was bringing one of them home. The little blinking dot on my screen was heading straight for my neighborhood. It was 10:17 p.m. on a Thursday. Emma had told me she was working an overnight shift. Said she'd be gone until noon the next day. She was always so calm when she lied. But the tracker on her car said otherwise. I turned off all the lights in the house. Sat in the dark. Phone in one hand, a dull ache pulsing in my temple. I wasn't even angry anymore. I felt outside of myself, like I was watching someone else's life implode in real time. 10:24 p.m., the dot stopped. In our driveway. I peeked through the front curtains. Her car was there. Headlights off. Then, another car pulled in behind her. Black sedan. Unknown plates. She got out first. Fixed her hair in the side mirror. Opened the back door. Grabbed something. Laughed. Laughed. And then he stepped out. I didn't recognize him. Tall. Muscular. Maybe late 20s. Not Jeff. Not Dave. Not anyone from the burner. A new one. They walked up the front path. She didn't even hesitate. Used her key. My key. The one we had made together at Home Depot 5 years ago, when we first moved in. I slipped into the shadows of the hallway as the door opened. They walked in, giggling. Whispering. "Shoo," she said. "He thinks I'm working." I watched from the hallway as she led him into our guest room. The room my parents stayed in when they visited last Christmas. The room where she kept that framed photo of us from college on the dresser. She closed the door behind them. And then I heard it. The sounds. The kind of sounds that make your chest hollow out. That strip every illusion of love and loyalty from your bones. She wasn't quiet. She didn't try to hide it. She knew I wouldn't be home. Because she built a system of lies so airtight. She thought nothing could touch her anymore. But I was standing 10 feet away. Frozen. I stayed there for 7 full minutes, listening. Then I walked out the front door. I didn't slam it. I didn't scream. I just left. I drove until the gas light came on. Ended up in a grocery store parking lot on the other side of town. Slept in my car. Cold. Alone. Staring at the ceiling like it might give me an answer. That night, I realized something I hadn't let myself believe yet. She didn't love me. She never had. I was a placeholder. A provider. A name on a lease. And I finally understood. This wasn't about one affair. Or even 8. It was about who she really was. And the mask she wore to keep it hidden from me. When I got home the next morning, everything looked normal. The beds were made. Kitchen clean. Her shoes neatly lined up by the door like nothing ever happened. Like she hadn't brought another man into our house and ripped my dignity apart one moan at a time. Emma was in the kitchen pouring coffee. She smiled at me. Smiled. "Hey babe. You're back early." Like it was a casual Saturday morning. Like she hadn't detonated our life the night before. I stared at her for a long time. Watching the way she stirred in her cream and sugar. Calm. Pretty. Deceptive. I didn't say anything. She tilted her head. What? I kept staring. My silence made her shift. Her body tensed slightly, just for a second. Did something happen? That's when I spoke. How was your shift last night? She blinked. Quiet. We admitted a few preemies. Long night. She lied. Effortlessly. Right to my face. I stepped closer. Pulled something out of my jacket pocket. Set it on the counter. The burner phone. She froze. Time slowed. Her eyes didn't even go wide. She just froze. Like a hunted animal deciding whether to run or fake death. Where did you get that? She finally said. You tell me. You went through my stuff. Still playing defense. Still trying to make me the villain. I laughed. Couldn't help it. It came out sharp and bitter. I know about Jeff. Dave. The guy from last night. I know about Redwood Inn. About the fake shifts. About the lies. Now her face shifted. Slightly. A crack in the mask. Not guilt, annoyance. Like I'd caught her in something inconvenient, not devastating. So you've been spying on me. You've been cheating on me. She didn't deny it. Not once. Just sighed. Slowly. And whispered. You weren't supposed to find out. No apology. No remorse. Just resentment that I'd uncovered the truth. That's when I realized. This wasn't a woman caught up in something complicated. This was someone who thought she was entitled to her secrets. How many? I asked. Does it matter? It does to me. She shrugged. I don't know. 8. 10. Some were one-time things. Some lasted longer. What do you want me to say? There it was. Cold. Surgical. Like she was talking about grocery runs, not betrayals. Why? She stared at me for a long moment. Because I needed to feel something. Anything. You were always fine. Safe. Predictable. And I hated how much I resented you for it. I didn't even respond. There was nothing left to say. I picked up my keys. Walked out the door. Didn't look back. But that wasn't the end. Because 2 days later. She showed up at my office. Crying. And that's when things got really dark. 2 days passed. I hadn't answered her texts. I hadn't returned home. I was staying at a friend's place across town, someone I trusted. Someone who wasn't sleeping with my wife. Then, on Tuesday afternoon, she showed up at my office. I was in the middle of reviewing a vendor contract when my phone buzzed. She's in the lobby. My coworker, Jen, looked confused. She's crying. Want me to tell her to leave? I don't know why I said no. Maybe part of me wanted to see what lies she'd try next. Maybe I just wanted to see her face one more time, knowing I'd never believe a word that came out of her mouth again. She walked in looking like she'd stepped out of a soap opera. Red eyes. Tear-streaked cheeks. Wearing the same scarf I bought her on our 5th anniversary. The one she once wore to meet another man. Tyler, she whispered. I didn't move. Please. Just hear me out. 5 minutes. I nodded. Slowly. Said nothing. She sat across from me like a guest in a stranger's home. I messed up. I know I did. I was stupid. Selfish. But you. Her voice cracked. You're the only one I've ever really loved. I didn't think you'd ever leave. I thought, you'd just keep loving me no matter what. She broke down then. Buried her face in her hands. Sobs racking her chest. And for a split second, a second I now hate myself for, I felt pity. Then I remembered the burner. The moans through the wall. The Motel 6 receipts. The voice of a man who knew me but ed her anyway. So I asked. Why now? She looked up. What? Why now? Why are you crying now? When you were sneaking around for a year, lying to my face, laughing in hotel beds, you didn't feel this sorry then. She paused. And then I saw it. That flicker. Not grief. Not regret. Panic. Because you're actually leaving. I thought you'd stay. There it was. Not because she missed me. Not because she was sorry. But because her safety net was gone. I was her plan A. The fallback. The stability behind all her chaos. She wasn't mourning me. She was mourning control. You thought I'd stay after all of that? I asked. She nodded. Honestly. Like that was a reasonable assumption. I thought we could fix it. That broke me. That sentence. Fix it. Like I'd dropped a glass and cracked it. Not like she'd set fire to our life with both hands and laughed while it burned. I stood up. Don't come to my job again. Don't text. Don't call. We're done. She started crying again. Reaching for me. I walked around her. Opened the door. Held it open without a word. She walked out, sobbing like the victim. And I shut the door behind her. But it wasn't over. Because she couldn't let go. And what she did next almost cost me my job. After I shut the door on her in my office, I felt like I could breathe again for the first time in weeks. It wasn't relief. Not yet. But it was clarity. I'd made the right call. She was only sorry she got caught. That should have been the end. But Emma? She didn't like losing. The very next day, HR called me in. Hey Tyler, can we talk privately? My stomach dropped. I walked into the conference room and found my manager and the head of HR waiting. Their faces serious. We received a complaint, the HR rep said. From someone alleging emotional abuse, gaslighting, intimidation. In a domestic context. I blinked. From who? Your wife. Emma, last name. She said you've been emotionally manipulating her for over a year. That she came to your office for help, and you threatened her. My jaw clenched so hard I thought I might crack a tooth. That's not true. Not even close. We're not here to judge anyone. But when a formal report is filed, we're obligated to follow protocol. They were polite. Cautious. Corporate. But I could tell they were skeptical. Because my performance record was spotless. No past incidents. Nothing about me screamed abuser. Still, the fact that I even had to defend myself made my skin crawl. Do you have any proof this is retaliatory? They asked. I pulled out my phone. Showed them the screenshots. The burner phone messages. The GPS logs. The call logs. The motel receipts. Even the conversation I'd recorded when she came to my office, where I told her to leave, and she cried, begged, but was never threatened. Their faces changed as I laid it all out. When I was done, my manager leaned forward. I'm sorry, Tyler. You don't deserve this. We'll mark the report as closed and unfounded. It won't go on your record. I thanked them, but I wasn't okay. Because now I knew exactly what I was dealing with. She wasn't just cheating. She was dangerous. She couldn't win through guilt. She couldn't win through emotion. So she tried to win through destruction. And when that didn't work, she called my mother. Told her I was having a mental breakdown. Told her I was unstable. Told her I needed help. I spent the next week putting out fires she lit with a single match. And even through all of that, I hadn't filed for divorce yet. But that changed the moment I found out one of the men she'd been sleeping with had a criminal record. And he'd been in our house. Around our things. Around me. I wasn't sleeping. Not really. I'd pass out for 2 or 3 hours a night and then jolt awake, heart racing, every creak in the walls sounding like another lie, another memory I couldn't unsee. One night, while trying to clear space on my phone, I started going back through the photos I'd taken from the burner phone. Just scanning through, aimless. That's when I noticed a face. One I hadn't focused on before. A guy in a selfie with Emma, shirtless, grinning wide, clearly in our guest room. I could see the striped curtains in the background. It was dated 2 months ago. At that time, I was out of town visiting a sick client in Chicago. He looked familiar, but not from my life. So I took a screenshot and ran it through a basic reverse image search. It took less than a minute. He had a record. Assault. Twice. Possession. 2 restraining orders. Most recently, a charge for breaking and entering. And this was the man she brought into my home. The man who'd been lying in the same sheets my mother once slept in. Who had probably opened my fridge, used my shower, walked around my house like he owned the place, like I was the outsider. I called the non-emergency police line. Asked what I could do. They said unless he'd committed a crime on my property, there was no action to take. No charges to file. But I did get advice from the officer. File for a restraining order. On both of them. And if you haven't already, get her out of the house. Legally. And so I did. I met with a lawyer the next morning. Told her everything. She didn't blink. Said she'd seen worse, but not often. We filed for divorce that same day. We filed to have Emma served with a formal notice. We filed a motion to have her removed from the home immediately, citing emotional distress and safety concerns. And I filed for a protection order. Against her. And against the man from the photo. Because I didn't know if he'd ever show up again. But if he did, I needed it on record. That night, I came home, alone, and walked into my bedroom. Opened the closet. Started boxing her things up, one piece at a time. Each blouse, each bottle of perfume, every fake memory folded into a box that would never come back inside. And then, at the bottom of the closet, I found something I wasn't supposed to see. A second burner phone. Smaller. Older. One I hadn't known about. I turned it on. And what I found inside changed everything I thought I knew about how this started. The second burner was an old model, scratched up, the battery almost dead. I charged it, praying it wouldn't betray me with some hidden secret that would break me further. But the truth? It was worse. This phone was full of messages and calls dating back 2 years. Almost double the time I thought she'd been living her double life. And the patterns? They were the same. Men after men, coded names, quick meetups, lies on lies. But here's what struck me the most: the first man on that list wasn't any of the ones I already knew. It was someone close, someone I never suspected. Her best friend's husband. That explained a lot. Late-night texts between them, sometimes even while the friend was asleep in the next room. Plans to meet after work, hidden calls during family dinners. It was a betrayal on a level I hadn't imagined possible. I called my best friend, Sarah, the next day. "Hey, it's Tyler," I said, voice shaky. "We need to talk." She was confused, scared even. When I told her what I found, how deep it went, her voice broke. I never suspected. I trusted them both. Neither did I. The 3 of us met, but it wasn't the reunion I'd hoped for. Instead, it was a painful reckoning. Because the tangled web wasn't just between Emma and me anymore. It had sucked in everyone close to us. And as I stared down at that second burner, I realized. This was never about just cheating. It was about a lifetime of secrets built on lies and betrayal. And now, I had to pick up the pieces. Piece by painful piece. After that meeting with Sarah, everything started to unravel faster than I could keep up with. She was devastated, not just by Emma's betrayal, but by her husband's. She said she felt like her whole world had collapsed. Friends turning into enemies overnight. Family dinners ruined by whispered suspicions. Social media filled with cryptic posts and broken trust. Meanwhile, Emma was doing everything she could to spin the story in her favor. She was telling everyone we knew that I was the one being controlling and paranoid. That I had ruined our marriage by refusing to accept her needs. That I was cold, distant, and emotionally abusive. I had friends and co-workers asking if I was okay, some even distancing themselves because they didn't know what to believe. Emma was good at controlling narratives. She was like a chameleon, shifting her story to whoever she talked to. But through it all, Sarah stuck by me. She was my rock when it felt like the entire world was against me. She helped me stay grounded, reminded me who I really was beneath the rubble. But the hardest part wasn't the social drama. It was realizing that Emma had been living two lives for years, and I was just a character in her story, not the main one. As the divorce papers went through, Emma fought back hard. Threats, lies, emotional manipulation, attempts to discredit me in court. But the burner phones, the GPS data, the motel receipts, they were undeniable. And finally, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. But even when the legal battle ended and Emma moved out, the scars remained. Because trust, once shattered, isn't something you can just pick up and glue back together. I lost more than a wife. I lost a version of myself I thought was real. Divorce finalized. Emma moved out. I was alone in the house that had once been ours. The silence was deafening. I spent weeks walking through empty rooms, every corner reminding me of her lies. The guest room, her secret playground. The kitchen, where I'd made breakfast every Sunday. The couch, where we once cuddled, planning a future now shattered. I wasn't angry anymore. I was numb. Friends checked in, but I found it hard to talk. The betrayal wasn't just about cheating, it was about losing the person I thought I knew. I started therapy. At first, it felt pointless. Like talking to a stranger about my pain wouldn't fix anything. But slowly, I found strength. I learned to process the anger, the grief, the shame. I found ways to forgive myself for not seeing it sooner. Because in the end, I realized, this wasn't my fault. It was her choice. And now, it was my time. To heal. To rebuild. To be whole again. After months of therapy and long nights wrestling with my own thoughts, I started to notice small changes. I began exercising again, clearing my head with morning runs around the neighborhood. I reconnected with old friends I had drifted away from during the marriage. I started journaling, not to remember the pain, but to track my progress. One day, I even smiled without feeling guilty. It wasn't easy. Some days, the memories hit like a freight train. The betrayal. The lies. The nights she wasn't really at work. But I realized something important: healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means accepting the past and choosing to live beyond it. For the first time in years, I felt hopeful. And while I might never fully understand why she did what she did, I know one thing for sure: I deserve better. And I will find it. It's been almost a year since everything came crashing down. I'm no longer the same man who found that burner phone in the trunk. I've rebuilt my life, piece by piece. I learned to trust again, starting with myself. I'm dating, cautiously, but with hope. I'm focused on my career and my own happiness. And those scars remain, they remind me of my strength, not my weakness. I've come to understand that sometimes the people we love the most aren't the ones meant to stay. Sometimes, their leaving is a brutal, painful gift, forcing us to grow, to see clearly, to value ourselves. So, to anyone reading this who's been betrayed, abandoned, or broken by love, you will survive. You will heal. And someday, you will find peace. Because your story isn't over yet.